Hey guys, Sean C. Phillips here with my September 3rd DVD update, where I talk about all the DVDs and Blu-rays I've gotten over the last 2 weeks or so. Like I always say, guys, if you enjoy these update videos, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Leave me comments below what you guys thought of the titles I reviewed and checked out this update. Any titles coming up that you guys would like me to review for future updates. Now, the first one I got from Shout Factory is one title that I had, one movie I had never heard anything about and didn't know a whole lot going into this movie, and it was absolutely amazing. Like, when it was over, it's one of those movies when I was like, wow. Like, I absolutely love this movie so much. This is definitely one of my favorite movies I've seen this year. One of my favorite movies I've seen in a really long time. Really stuck with me and was absolutely amazing. And it's like basically kind of about like the early, it's fairy tales about some of the earliest fairy tales, and it's like kind of twisted, weird, out there fairy tales with really weird stuff happening. It deals with three different kings. One is played by John C. Reilly and his wife, Salma Hayek, and they basically can't have children, and they've been trying and having no luck. And this guy comes to them and says that if John C. Reilly's character goes out into this lake and kills this creature, they take the heart back, and Salma Hayek eats the heart. She becomes pregnant. Of course, she does this. John C. Reilly dies doing this. She ends up eating the heart, and the person who cooks up the heart eats the heart as well. And they both end up pregnant and have a kid the very next day, and they're both these kind of like albino-like kids that are kind of inseparable with each other, and it's like years later. And all the stories too kind of loosely connect to each other in a cool way. Then it's like Toby Jones' character, who's this king who wants to get his daughter married, but at the same time, she's all like, well, I want to find the person that I like, and he's like, well, you've got to find somebody. So he ends up opening this kind of thing where anyone can kind of come to the village and see if he has this kind of task, and if they can get the answer right, he ends up saying, oh, you can get married to my daughter. Of course, though, the person who comes and solves this task is an ogre. So that's the whole story there with that and what ends up happening. And the other one is a king who is this real king who's like kind of sleeping around with all these different women. He has women all over his castle. And he ends up hearing one night when he's like in his room, he hears this woman singing this amazing voice, and he becomes obsessed with who this woman is and who the woman is who's singing. Of course, the woman is this very old woman who lives with, her sister in the nearby village, and he comes and starts knocking on the door saying, I need to see you, and he really wants to be with this woman. And then the sisters are kind of coming up with an idea of how in the world they're going to like trick him and, get their fingers to look younger and put a finger through the door and then like tape up their bodies to look younger, like the one's bodies to look younger. These are such amazing movies, stories and form this movie, and it's just so, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like the movie Perfume, like that kind of like feeling kind of movie. Like I said, like if you like kind of twisted fairy tale movies, I would highly recommend this. It also has a making of featurette. I think it was like pretty long featurette on here. It got into a lot of details, but like I said, absolutely love this movie so much, so good. Definitely check this one out, guys. The next one is a Brian De Palma movie, which I had never seen, called Raising Cain. And it has on here the never-before-seen director's cut of the movie, which is basically the reordered version of the movie, because originally the movie played in chronological order, or like a certain order, and this one takes it all out of order, and this is the way that, Brian De Palma originally wrote the movie. So an editor went and took the original, took the theatrical cut and reordered it. There is nothing new added to it scene-wise, but it's basically changed around the order. I watched the director's cut version, so it kind of changed, because like if you were kind of reviewing it on that, you could go, oh, I couldn't talk about this aspect, but most people who know this movie know that it's John Lithgow's character who is basically has all these multiple personalities, all these different kind of personalities, and he's really nuts, and he's like kind of talking to himself, and you don't know if like who is real because you can't tell with what's going on. And basically, though, it deals with, his wife, who is kind of sleeping with this other guy, and she has kind of her story, what's going on with him. And John Lithgow is kind of like going around and like kidnapping children because he's planning to do these like kind of experiments on them about like their psyche and their kind of things they're doing. Like if you know Brian De Palma's films, they always go, especially like movies like this one, Body Double, Blowout. Especially Body Double. This one is very much like, to me, kind of Body Double kind of vibe, where you kind of, he purposely tries to kind of confuse you and make you kind of wonder, because they're really he does a really good job at kind of making you kind of wonder what's going on here and what is real here, and what, because he also deals too with a lot of, especially in this one, a lot of like dream sequences, so sort of things kind of happen within dreams. And it also deals with like the police kind of investigating the missing people and the bodies that are kind of starting to show up. But I really like this one. The one guy too who was in Body Double was in this, and I would say I like the, or like I said, I watched a featurette on here that talked about how they reordered it and changed it into the non-chronological order. And they said, you know, like when they first, you know, that was Brian De Palma always kind of regretted that it wasn't released like that. And I think that's like a great way to watch it. I would recommend watching the new director's cut one. But like I said, if you, to me, I could watch it that way for the first time, and I really like that. But like I feel like maybe if you saw it originally, the one way you might like it that way more because you were so used to it seeing it that way. But really great transfer in this one. Has on here though, like I said, a featurette on that one, and has new interviews with John Lithgow, a number of the other cast members on here. But really, really cool De Palma film. The next one from Scream Factory is a movie called The Dead Room, which is a creepy kind of movie about this family that was in this house, and basically they went and basically totally vanished from this house one day and left. And they did kind of like a group of these like investigators, like these paranormal investigators, with this one younger girl, and I think she was kind of like the medium who was trying to kind of see what she could kind of feel and what was going on in this place. But they basically go into this house where kind of like haunted things had happened, and they go there to try and see if there's any reality to this, and they have all kinds of equipment and kind of like going in there, and basically it's one of those kind of haunted house movies where like things start moving, and it's also one of those ones where they were really throwing around the people, like they were like throwing, like they're kind of like really like, not because some of the haunted house movies where it's kind of like things are happening, things are moving, but this is one of those ones where like really bad stuff was happening to them, and like the ghost or whatever was in this house was really like terrible and throwing them around, and it has some interesting stuff too, and it has like a different like kind of outcome to what's going on with it and stuff. It's like some unexpected things that were like I wasn't seeing that was going to happen in this one, but actually a pretty cool, creepy, like I said, haunted house one. The next one, this is a Charles Band movie, and an early 3D film. It actually has on here the 3D version of this as well. It's a movie called Metalstorm, the destruction of Jared-Syn in 3D, and you know, it's one of the first movies that I think he did with Tim Thomerson. This was like right before Trancers that he did this one. And it's basically, though, kind of like a Mad Max movie mixed with Star Wars, kind of like Star Trek kind of thing. And it's like, it was kind of around the time, too, when they were making, Italy was making a lot of, like, movies like Warriors of the Wasteland and Battle of the Bronx, like, all those kind of ones, like, I think, like, 1986 or something like that. There was a whole lot of those kind of like Road Warrior kind of clone type films that they're making around this time. But this was one that was actually made in, you know, the U.S. as opposed to a lot of the ones that were Italian produced ones. And this is basically, though, about this guy is kind of like going around like hunting like people, like he's kind of, like I said, the Mad Max kind of character. He ends up coming across this girl whose father was killed, and he's kind of, they're trying to basically find the person that was responsible for killing this girl's father. And there's the one guy too who basically can like the one bad guy, he can kind of control people, and like if you look into this thing you end up like in his weird world and stuff. And he basically though has to find Tim Thomerson's character to try and help him get to this guy and kind of take him out. That's essentially what the movie was. But it has on here though new high definition transfer for this one in 2D and 3D, featurette on the movie, you know, interviews with Charles Band, the actor, and Richard Mall and Tim Thomerson. But a pretty cool, like I said, early one, and Universal released this one as well when this first came out. This is one from Shout Factory's new line called Shout Selects, and they had like one of the other upcoming ones they're going to be releasing, I think the next one is Bill and Ted, with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which I can't wait for that because, you know, Bogus Journey has never been on Blu-ray yet. This is a Patrick Swayze movie, and I have never seen this movie before, and I had always wanted to see it, and I always heard people talk about it. It's called Roadhouse, and I actually really like this movie a lot. I actually always liked Patrick Swayze, you know, really, of course, like Ghost. It's probably one of my favorite, is like one that hopefully down the line that gets a Blu-ray release, To Wong Fu. Like, I always really like that movie. It's why I feel like that was like one of those real underrated movies. This is basically, though, Patrick Swayze is basically a bouncer at clubs and like the bouncer kind of security guy, and he ends up basically hired to go to this kind of bar where it's like really rowdy and people are like every night people are getting into fights there and the cops are always coming and there's all kinds of injuries and stuff like that. So the guy basically wants to hire him because they believe he's the best to kind of shape up the bar because he came into some money. He wants to fix the place up and make it into a kind of more family joint. So he wants to kind of ease like get the bad ruffian kind of crowds that are fighting each other and all that kind of stuff out of there. But when he gets there, he comes across a lot of problems though, because there's one guy there who's kind of like in charge of the whole town there, and he's kind of like controlling everything. Like if you try and change something, he controls the liquor there, and if you don't pay him a certain amount of money, he has like his bad guys kind of come and beat you up. So he kind of gets there and has to kind of deal with all these things. He also, Patrick Swayze's character comes across, starts dating this girl that's out there that he meets. When he gets injured one night, he goes to the hospital. Like I said, I really like this movie. It's a very fun movie, and like I said, I don't know how I had never seen this before in my life, and like I'm glad I finally got to check this out. But it has on here though a new 2K scan of the movie, commentary tracks on here, a commentary track with Roadhouse fans, Kevin Smith and Scott Moser, so that was pretty cool on here. New interviews with a number of the cast members on this one, but really cool movie. Like I said, really like I'm glad to finally see this one. The next one from Arrow Films. This is like their more like films for newer release titles, and this is a Region 2 release, so just keep that in mind with this one. It's a horror movie called Unspoken. I just finished watching this one now. It's basically the beginning of the movie. You see something really bad happen in this house. And, kind of like unexplained what had happened there, and people don't really know what happened to the people who were there because they kind of vanished. And you see like one guy like hanging himself in there when the police are there, and this family ends up moving into this new house, and it's the mother and her son, and the son something has happened to him and he hasn't spoken in years, and they kind of need like a babysitter to watch him. And this girl in the town who really is desperate for money because her father lost a job ends up getting a job there to kind of watch him. As soon as she goes to this house though, things start to happen, and also people in the town are all like, why are you working there? You know what happened there in the past. And she doesn't know everything, but she's like, well, I need to help my dad out, and everyone's kind of like giving her kind of problems. And it also deals with kind of a subplot though of the girl though, she's dating this other girl, and like she kind of like doesn't want anyone to know that they're dating, and the brother is like kind of lurking around there, and he like hid some money and stuff in this house. So it kind of deals with that plot too, of them trying to get into the basement because this house was abandoned for all these years. Like I said, it was a pretty creepy one, and actually had some pretty gory kind of stuff happening in this one. And like I said, this one is from Arrow Video, and this, like I said, keep in mind this is a Region 2 release. The next one is Captain America: Civil War, which this is from Disney, and this is the the Blu-ray release of this one. There's a couple of different releases of this one. Going to be some steel books as well, and then a 3D release. I actually really like this movie. I saw. I never saw the first Avengers movie, so I don't know how I've never saw that. I saw the second one, I saw the other Captain America films. The first Avengers I missed. I actually like this one more than the second Avengers. The second Avengers was good, but this one was actually really good. And the thing about these movies is they're doing a really good job with having all the characters kind of coming together, because, Ant-Man is popping in here, and they're kind of like, because like, they kind of have all the spin-off movies, and the spin-off movies kind of lead into these films. And I kind of like that they're, doing this. And this basically, though, deals with the whole group of all of them, the superheroes that are together, kind of cause some destruction, and the group that's like kind of in charge of the superheroes is kind of like getting kind of upset with that and saying that they need to be held accountable for the messes that they're making and the kind of the destruction they're causing. And they basically kind of want to put rules on them and say, you have to kind of, before you go and do something, you have to talk to us and you have to get our approval, and we'll say if you can do this, and we'll say if it's worth you going in there to go after this. And that's basically what it is. It kind of puts a rift between Captain America and Iron Man. The people who kind of, the other superheroes kind of take sides. So they kind of are having their own kind of rift and problems with each other and issues that are going on. That's pretty much what the story is. It has on here, though, a number of features on here, like a making of on here, Captain America Part 1 and 2 making of, and has on here a commentary track with director, gag reel, and deleted scenes. But I actually really like this one a lot. Like I said, like the other Captain America ones, but this one I actually think is one of the best ones, I would say. Really one of the best superhero movies in a long time. The next one from Lionsgate. This is one that's based on a Stephen King novel, and Stephen King actually wrote the screenplay, which was pretty cool because he doesn't write the screenplay too often for his films. And this one, the adaptations and stuff like that. And this is a movie starring John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. It's called Cell. It's basically like John Cusack's character is in a airport. He's like talking to his family, and all of a sudden, people in the airport are like talking on their phone. They start going like totally freaking out. Something like this going on with the cell phone signals is basically making people crazy, and they're kind of going and killing each other and attack each other in these really violent ways. So John Cusack's character kind of runs down into the tunnels where they kind of have the train between the terminals, and he ends up getting down there and meeting Samuel L. Jackson, who's like the guy who drives the train down there. And it's kind of them kind of together, kind of trying to get back to John Cusack's family and try and find his son and why this is happening, and the whole world is going crazy with this signal or whatever it is. It's kind of making people all go like and have all these crazy things happen to them. It's pretty creepy. I mean, it wasn't done perfectly in some aspects, but I did think it was kind of like a different thing. And also it's one of those kind of things talking about, how if like something was going to happen and make people all of a sudden all go crazy and something like that, like a cell phone really would be the kind of thing to use. And it kind of deals with that kind of stuff about how like everyone is so fixated on the cell phone and how like if the signal can do that to people. And also like too, when people like there's some weird stuff too with like the zombie characters where like they congregate together and they have like music coming out of their mouths and all this kind of weird crazy stuff in here. But it has on here though a commentary track on here and a making of the film. The next one is a movie with Bruce Willis called Marauders, The Rich Will Pay, and it's basically it's pretty cool sequences like of in the beginning of the movie about this group in these cool masks going and robbing this bank, and it's kind of like the police trying to investigate because there's all these people that got murdered in the bank robbery and trying to figure out exactly who was behind this robbery and trying to track them down and find them. And it's kind of like them kind of thinking that maybe it's like somebody big in charge of this whole thing, this whole operation, and they're trying to kind of put the pieces together along the way. The one guy, Adrian Grenier, who was from Entourage, is in this movie, and then Dave Bautista, who's in the WWE and is in the Guardians of the Galaxy. He's in this one, like I said, Bruce Willis, and it's a kind of pretty cool, like kind of one trying to figure out exactly, who are these people and who is in charge of this group. Because then there's and some pretty cool bank robbery sequences in here that are pretty well done. Those were some of the best stuff, was the scenes of like robbing the banks and stuff, and really cool masks on them as well. But it has on here though a commentary track with Stephen C. Miller, the making of Marauders, deleted scenes, and cast and crew interviews on this one. The next one from Magnolia's Magnet Line. This is one, I like this one a lot. And also, this movie kind of has, with the music, like the theme to it, like a Rosemary's Baby kind of theme to it. And it's a movie called The Ones Below. And it's about this couple who are, pregnant, and they're living in this kind of duplex house, and the guy who lived in the basement ended up recently passing away, and this new couple ends up moving in, and they're very odd, this couple that moves in, and they're kind of almost like clones of the ones that are above, and that's kind of like the creepy aspect of it. And the woman that moves in she's pregnant as well, and she's a couple weeks, I think, behind the woman upstairs, and it deals with basically the two of them, kind of the two girls that are both pregnant, kind of becoming friends. But the one night when they come over to the people downstairs that moved in come up for dinner one night, something terrible happens to the one, who lives down in the basement and, in the duplex below, and ends up having this terrible thing happen with the baby. And they're basically taking him and kind of like saying, you caused this, and this was your fault, and, you don't even really care that you're pregnant. And, you were saying because they were saying how they really didn't even know for years they wanted to get pregnant. This couple who lived below was saying how they were trying all these years to get pregnant. But basically, though, because of what happens, it becomes this huge thing, and this creepy stuff that's going on because of it. And that's really all I can say on this. But I really thought this was a cool movie. Like I said, it has kind of a Rosemary's Baby, not with what's going on per se, but like with the theme to it. It's definitely like one of the closest kind of cool themes to Rosemary's Baby type, like la, 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 that kind of theme going on. But it has on here though some featurettes on here, behind the cast and characters as well on here. But like I said, really pretty cool. If you guys seen this one, let me know what you guys think. The next one from Warner Brothers is The Conjuring 2. It's the first Conjuring movie. That was one of those movies that creeped me out so bad. I remember I had, like, you know, these terrible bad dreams about the character in that was over top of the dresser. This one wasn't as creepy, but still was very creepy. And the nun character, which I believe is going to be doing a having a spin-off film, was very creepy. And this movie is, you know, of course, The Conjuring 2, which I really like this one. It's basically about the, I think it's like stars Lorraine and Eric Warren, and they're basically this couple that go around and kind of try and either prove or debunk kind of possessions and haunted encounters and any of that kind of stuff that's happening. And if you saw The Conjuring, what ends up happening with them in the first movie. And this is basically, though, about a girl who's in England who all of a sudden she starts acting strange, and she's like saying, you know, having things happen where she's like being, you know, they can put like a blindfold over her, and like, and she kind of talk like with this like deep man voice and this creepy voice, and just kind of weird stuff's happening to her, weird stuff's happening in the house. And they basically send in the Warrens to go out to England and try and prove if this is a real encounter whatsoever and anything truthful going on, or if they're kind of doing this for attention and seeing what's going on. It also deals too with, you know, this really creepy, like the tall man character that like walks on these creepy stilts. There's some very creepy stuff in this movie, but has on here though talking about the true story that this was based on here, and deleted scenes, and crafting The Conjuring 2. But very cool, creepy movie. The next one, this is one that I had never seen before, and it's a Brad Bird film, you know, who directed or wrote The Incredibles, and this is The Iron Giant. This is the brand new edition, the signature edition on Blu-ray. I don't think this was on Blu-ray before. I don't believe the signature edition has 2 scenes that are added back into the movie that were cut years ago when its first release, and even has a feature on here talking about how, you know, how the movie, it's a new documentary talking about how the movie was a box office disappointment, but then ended up becoming like a huge hit afterwards. Like, there's a lot of movies that are like that, like a movie like Office Space as well, where it didn't do well in theaters, but then when it hit video, it became like a huge hit after the theatrical release. And that happens a lot with certain movies. This is basically, though, a, you know, classic hand-drawn type animated film, and I believe it was hand-drawn, but it's I think that the creature, the robot, though, was animated digitally. But it's basically, though, about this robot that comes down from space. It was originally meant to be a weapon, but ends up kind of losing its memory, and this kid who ends up discovering him out in the middle of the woods. It definitely has a kind of E.T. kind of vibe, and he becomes friends with this robot and starts to kind of like teaching him things. But then, like, people around the like kind of like the FBI and people like that are kind of searching for him and trying to find him, and kind of like figuring out what is happening out there. But a very cool, very sad movie too, with some really sad stuff. Vin Diesel, you know, does the voice of the robot. And, you know, of course, a lot of people do voices in this one. Jennifer Aniston. But like I said, a brand new, I believe like this is the first time I think this is been on Blu-ray. The next one from Warner Brothers as well is The Flash, the complete second season. And this basically is about a guy, though, you don't know the Flash story, that was struck by lightning and ends up getting powers like superpowers and can run super fast. But this is kind of a cool thing here because Kevin Smith, you know, was a super fan of the show, and like, you know, he, you know, filmed himself online reacting to the season finale of the first episode of the first season, and he's basically crying and like getting really emotional to the show. And he ended up coming on and directing an episode of this season. I think he might be directing a season 1 in the 3rd season. I'm not certain though, but they have a feature on here which is pretty cool, with a 50-minute feature with him on set and kind of talking about how he ended up getting the directing job and how he's been a huge fan of The Flash. And it's actually a pretty well done feature on here with him, but it has on here though a number of other features as well, talking about the Arrow crossover event, behind the scenes featurettes on here, the Flash Comic-Con panel. But if you guys are a fan of the show though, definitely check this one out. The next one is one I was really interested in seeing from Anchor Bay. Marcus Dunstan, who directed The Collector and The Collection, directed this movie. It's a new one called The Neighbor. And Bill Evangel, who was, from the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, really more of like a comedy kind of actor, was like really different in this movie. And like, I actually think he's going to get more work in these kind of roles from this, because he was actually really pretty cool in this movie. It's a movie called The Neighbor. Very cool, weird mask, like paper mache mask made like that look like out of like missing posters and stuff like that from the newspaper. But it's basically about this guy who lives in this kind of farmhouse with his girlfriend, and they don't explain too much of exactly what he's doing. He's kind of working for this guy in this diner, and he's kind of doing his business, and they're kind of up to some shady stuff going on. He kind of has to do what he says, or the guy's basically going to kill him. He's kind of like one of those kind of guys that's like really controlling. So he's kind of like stuck there doing his deeds and stuff like that. And his neighbor across the street, though, he's kind of like looking at him out the window with a telescope and noticing his neighbor is kind of weird, and he's up to kind of odd stuff going on. And at the one day, though, the girlfriend, though, spots something, the neighbor out there doing something. The neighbor sees that she's looking out the window and basically kidnaps him, takes him to his house, and puts him in the basement. Essentially, though, it's him trying to go and get her out of the basement. That's not really saying too much, because that's really what the major bulk of this movie was that. But when he gets down there, it's kind of like what he has to do and kind of the task of getting her free. And there's some more things going on down this basement than you think. It was actually, like I said, pretty good, and I really liked, like I said, Bill Evangel in this. I wasn't sure what to expect, because like I said, I've really only seen him in like the comedy kind of Larry the Cable Guy type movies and those kind of things, but he was very good in this one. The next one from Paramount is the complete 19th season. I was just making sure I didn't drop any of the ones I hadn't talked about yet. The complete 19th season of South Park. And this one is the one that deals with a lot of PC principle and like kind of talking about real PC stuff, and the school having to have all these kind of PC rules, and the firing certain people and bringing him in to kind of be like making sure everyone is being PC, and that's essentially like the big plot aspect of this one, what's going on, and also dealing with the stuff in here too. They deal with the bringing in their Whole Foods. There's a lot of really fun episodes of this one. Like I said, this is the complete 19th season of South Park. I've always been a fan of this show. I've watched this one since the show started, and it's been on for, like I said, for 19 seasons. I think the 20th season is going to be starting soon, I believe. But it's crazy this has been on so long, and it really holds up. Like, and they, and they're continuously able to really keep this current. And the reason they can is because they do these shows the week that they're airing, so they basically can be topical. And I like that these can be super topical episodes. It has on here, though, the game trailer for the new game, season commentary tracks, and deleted scenes on this one. The next one, this is based on the Bradley Cooper movie, Limitless, and this is Limitless, the complete first season. And I'm not sure if there's going to be a second season of this one or not. And I didn't know too much about this show, but it was actually a pretty well done show. It has on here the digital copy of the show as well. But it's basically, though, about this guy who he has this kind of rich friend who says, because the guy's basically having all kinds of problems. He's not sure how he's going to, because his father ends up getting sick with this thing, and they don't know exactly what's going on with him. And his life is kind of a mess because of this. And his friend says, listen, I'm going to give you a little extra time to figure out this and figure out stuff at work that you're trying to deal with. If you take this pill, it's going to give you these, going to basically open up your mind and give you abilities to kind of see and, kind of read books real quick and kind of observe knowledge and have all these kind of functions that you wouldn't normally. So he gives him this pill, and he ends up being able to figure out what's wrong with his father. But then he ends up dealing with kind of this murder investigation thing, dealing with that as well. And it's kind of deals with him too, kind of being supplied with these pills if he helps the FBI. The one actress from this is from the show Dexter, but I really like this show. I wonder if it will. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to come back for another season or not. Some people have been posting about maybe Netflix, but I don't know for certain of that. But it's actually a pretty well done show, and Bradley Cooper actually does pop up in the show as well. The next one from Well Go USA. And this was a really good, coming of age movie. And at the beginning, it kind of has a Gummo kind of feel, but more normal than Gummo. But the scene in the beginning when they're riding the bikes was making me think of Gummo. It's a movie called King Jack. And this was really well-made movie. And it's basically about this kid. It's him during summer break, and his something happens to the mother's, like, his cousin ends up having to stay with him for the summer, and the cousin is like a younger kid, and this kid is kind of trying to be cool for the summer and everything like that. Like, this is not cool, but basically though, this kid kind of comes and sort of cramps his style, and he kind of has to take this kid around. It's basically just dealing with what happens in this one day. And King Jack, the kid Jack, has all these kind of problems. He has these really bad bullies that are giving him all kinds of problems every day, picking on him and beating him up terribly. And this kid that comes around that he has to take care of and watch, he doesn't want to, is making things even worse, because now he's got to deal with him, and he's telling him, you know, don't talk around me. If they say anything to you, don't say anything. I don't need to deal with this. But it's basically dealing with him in like a day of his life with this kid, with his cousin, and these bullies that are terrible, and the things that they do. This was really, really well done, and him with this girl that he likes, and like I said, it's just kind of all what happens, like a slice of life kind of thing. But I love these kind of movies, especially when they're done good. The next ones are from 88 Films. So these ones are all Region B releases. So you have to make sure, you know, you have a Region B player or an all-region player. And the first one is one I had never seen before. It's also called Sewage Baby, but it's called The Suckling, aka Sewage Baby. And it has reversible artwork on this one as well. It's cool that they, you know, have the alternate artwork for this one. This is basically, it was kind of like that movie that I was in called Zombie Babies. If you ever saw that movie, because like this was way before that, but Zombie Babies kind of had a similar kind of feel to this. But it's called, like I said, The Suckling, and it's basically about people who go, this couple that goes to this kind of really backwoods kind of abortion clinic, and she doesn't really want to do it, but she kind of goes to kind of, because the boyfriend wants her to go to this and see what it would, if it can be done to abort this baby. And they go there, and there's all kind of weird stuff going on there. There's like prostitutes at this abortion clinic. It's like a weird kind of woman that runs the whole place. And basically, though, they abort this baby, put it down into the sewer, and this sewage from above, this toxic waste, kind of leaks down on it and brings it back to life, and it goes and is killing everybody inside the building. And like, it's like these crazy stuff, and there's some really creepy sequences of the baby coming back to life in this one. But pretty cool one. Like I said, it's a pretty good transfer in here. It's from the original 60mm transfer, so very good transfer. And like I said, it was cool to see this one on Blu-ray, and I said I had never seen this. This one was one I hadn't seen in a long time. It was one of those ones who was always in those like 50 movie kind of sets and those kind of things, and released a whole lot of times, but the picture was always like, it was kind of unwatchable because it was so dark and you couldn't see it. So to see this on Blu-ray was pretty cool. You can actually see it. It's a good picture. It's a movie called Drive-In Massacre. It's basically about somebody going around and killing people at drive-ins in California, and they're kind of, and it's got super cheesy music, like really super cheesy synth music. I love the synth music in this one. And it's also, too, movies like, since drive-ins are so few and far between, you hardly ever see them. It's kind of cool to see something filmed in all these drive-ins. Super cheesy movie, like cheesy acting and everything. Same with The Suckling, had super cheesy, like really bad acting, but fun bad acting. But this is basically about the police trying to investigate it, these bumbling cops trying to figure out exactly who is doing this and track them down and stop them. But it has on here also the television cut of this movie, making of the massacre, interviews on here, and then another interviews with slasher expert. And the other one, too, from 88 Films, like I said, make sure you know these are all Region B releases, is Flesh Eating Mothers. This is one I hadn't seen in so long. And this is another one transferred from the original 16mm and has interviews as well. This has alternate artwork on this as well. And the artwork on this one, I love the old one. It's a real cheesy cover. Like I think I remembered seeing this one like in video rental stores when I was a kid. But this is like a weird movie about this guy who is kind of sleeping around with all the mothers in this town. And he's kind of passing around this kind of venereal disease to them. It's kind of turning them all into flesh eaters. And they're like going and eating their kids, eating their husbands, and going kind of nuts and stuff like that, eating everybody. And that's pretty much what it is. It's just these crazy things, silly, cheesy acting, cheesy music and everything. But a really, really, really fun movie. Yeah, for some reason when I think of this, I think of that one, like the zombies in my neighborhood, or zombies ate my neighbors, or something like that. I don't know why I think of that, but I don't know. It just I think of that when I always think of this movie. But like I said, these are really cool that 88 Films has released these ones and given them HD transfers. The next one from Synapse Films is Dario Argento's Tenebrae, which is a really cool giallo film. Which is like one of the later ones that he did. I think this was like 1982. I think my favorite movies of his, though, are always, Suspiria and Opera, but this one was very cool, and it's basically about this author who ends up going to Europe to kind of do his book tour. So he goes out there, and there's somebody, right when he gets there, somebody is basically murdering people that have something to do with his book and, like, that have any kind of connections to him, and he's basically killing them all these violent different ways and, like, shoving, like, the book down their throats. And as soon as he gets there, the police are kind of talking to him, saying, when did you get here? Do you know anything about this? And kind of, like, looking at him like he could be a suspect. And around him, people are like showing up dead. And it's one of those kind of like whodunit kind of movies where you're kind of trying to figure out exactly who is the killer and that kind of thing. But it has on here, though, a brand new transfer on this one. They did a really good job, cleaning this one up, Synapse. And has on here, newly transferred English subtitles. It has the English version of this as well. It also has insert shots for the movie in 1080p. But if you guys are a fan of this movie or love Dario Argento's movie, definitely check this out. The next one from, I think this is from Kraken releasing, is Godzilla 1984. This is one of those ones I remembered seeing a lot as a kid, because it's like Godzilla, it's kind of when it's like the big return movie. It was in the US, it was called Godzilla 1985, but there was like some kind of rights issues with that one, so this one doesn't contain that version of the movie, because that one had like put like a different, added like an American actor, and I can't remember who it was, but they added him into it, but they weren't able to use that one. But this is the, international cut, I think, of Godzilla 1984. This is called The Return of Godzilla. Good transfer in this one. It's basically, though, about like a ship out there at sea, and they end up getting attacked by Godzilla's comeback, and they kind of discover this, and this one guy who comes to the ship ends up discovering this, but doesn't. The government will not let him say in the newspaper or anything like that, because they don't want to cause a panic, because Godzilla's been missing and gone for all these years. They thought he was gone, and it's kind of like Godzilla's coming back, and it's kind of Japan is kind of planning for it and everything. But really good transfer in this one. It has the English version, this one as well, on here. The next ones are Hammer Horror Collections, which I love that, these are from Mill Creek is releasing all these ones. This one has the two faces of Dr. Jekyll and the Gorgon. The Gorgon was a pretty cool one, which was turning like people into stone. This this murders and the kind of people have been getting turned into stones. It has on here the Revenge of Frankenstein, the Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. Really cool, like I said, that Mill Creek has been releasing these ones on Blu-ray and HD. Very good transfers on this one. I think there's probably going to be some other ones as well, because I think there was another set, I think, like some other DVD ones, so there'll probably be some more of these as well down the line. But if you guys are fans of these Hammer Horror ones, definitely check these out. And the last one, this is a show that I used to watch all the time as a little kid, in reruns. I remember they used to play this like right before I was going to school, like 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's the Dennis the Menace, the complete series. This is all the episodes, I think it's 29 hours of this show. Phil Hartman did the voice of, Mr. Wilson and Dennis Mitchell's father in this, but it's basically, has that fun opening. It's like, Dennis the Menace, and it's basically, it's kind of interesting too, because it's like 3 shorts kind of like in one episode, and it's like kind of Dennis is always getting into mischief. And if you guys know Dennis the Menace, it's the animated version of him always messing with Mr. Wilson and causing all kinds of problems and all kinds of problems around his town and all that. This is a show, it's weird watching it now, but having not seen it for so long. But as a kid, I used to love this. It was fun to watch this again, and really cool though to have the whole series of this one, in a whole collection like this, because they put out like a thing in the past of like, I think some of the episodes, like just a couple ones, but now they're all together in one set. So if you guys are a fan of this show, I would definitely say this is worth checking out and picking up, and it's also just cool for nostalgia reasons to see it again. But anyway, well guys, that's all for this update video. Thanks again for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you guys later.